today's video. What we wanted to do and share with you today is my warm-up routine for squatting. So I've had some knee stuff, I've had some back stuff in my past training for CrossFit and for competition, and some stuff that I found that really works is making sure that I get my glutes firing so I'm not using my back when I'm squatting. So I wanted to take you guys through how I would get my glutes to fire to take it into my back squats and my front squats so I can continue building strength in proper positions and not hurt while I'm doing it and feel good about getting stronger. So let's go ahead and get started. For my first drill, I always start with just a wall. So I've also used a box or things like that. So when we do this drill, we want to make sure we think about lying in a straight line, and we're going to get our glutes to fire, and it's going to be kind of like an isolation hold, and you should really feel your glute fire. I'll show you exactly where. So I'm going to lay down on the ground. What I want to focus on doing is I tend to like to hike my hip, which we don't want to do. So I'm going to push my heel long, rotate my toe out. Butt and heel are going to be in line with the wall. This should be relaxed. Then I'm going to lift. Now all of a sudden as I lift, I just felt my glute fire, and that's really good, except it needs to wake up a little bit before I squat. So I'm going to hold for about 3 seconds, and then I'm going to come back down. Focus on elongating again, turn my toe, and lift. You'll feel a very sticky spot, and we want to keep our heel and our butt pulled back against the wall so our hip isn't rotating forward. I usually do 5 of these on my right leg and then 5 on my left. All right, once I finish my 5 leg slides per leg, then I go and do a side plank, and this is to help my back. So I've been hiking one hip and really crunching down. So I want to make sure I keep everything long, just like I was doing in the side glide. So I'm just going to hit 2 sets of a 30-second side plank per side. And it's key because when I do my side plank, I used to think about having to lift way up high. We actually don't want to do that for this exercise. We want to think about just letting our hip drop slightly so I'm still engaged with my midline, but I'm not crunching and hiking my hip. So I'm getting some space between my ribs and my hip, but getting my midline turned on and ready to go. So I'll hold 30 seconds here. Again, not hiking the hip towards the ceiling, but still feeling the engagement of my midline. This next exercise is my go-to. This is my favorite one, and it allows me to feel like I can get a little bit of movement in my SI joint, and it really helps me make sure that I can keep my knees tracking out and think about using my glutes and my hamstring in my squats. So we're gonna try to mimic the bottom of a squat position on one leg. So it's also a little bit of a unilateral movement. So an ab mat is always nice because then you don't think about the pressure on the back knee on the ground, but instead on the leg that you're working on. So I'll take my ab mat and I'll set it down on the ground, and then I just hook my band around the rig. I like to use a green band. From here, I'm gonna put one leg through. Then I'm gonna have a stack of plates, and I'm gonna lift my foot off of the ground. And the reason for doing that is because when we're in a squat, we're usually in a below parallel position. So I wanna make sure that I'm training that position with the warm-up that I'm doing, so when I hit below parallel, my body is ready for it. So again, I'm coming on to these plates. From here, I'm gonna think about planting my big toe, my pinky toe, and my heel to the ground, and then gently letting my knee track out over my second toe. And I like to use my hand against the post just to find my glute firing, my midline's engaged, and then eventually I'll let go of the post. My goal here is to keep my hips pointed forward, my midline engaged, and not let my knee collapse. So you might even be able to see my glutes start shaking, and it feels really, really good. A little bit of traction on my SI joint, and then I'm working on grabbing the floor, or in this case, the plate, with my big toe, my pinky toe, and I don't want to roll to the outside of my foot. So I will hold this position for about 30 seconds, and then I'll try to let go of the post for 30 seconds. Sometimes I can't get to letting go without caving, then I'll just put my hand right back on the post. And I always do 2 rounds, 1 minute per leg. The goal is to be able to release my hand eventually. So when I'm doing this exercise, it's important to put the band just above your knee, and the band is going to be wanting to pull your knee in. You don't need a ton of tension, so I just have enough tension to where I can feel that my knee wants to cave in. I have to focus on keeping my knee out over my second toe, where I feel my glute fire and almost like I get a little bit of movement in my SI joint. Feels really, really nice, and I think this has been one of my #1 go-to drills before squatting that has really transferred into being able to turn my glutes on and turn my back off during my sets. All right, and for my last one before I actually even get my hands on a barbell is gonna involve another band. I like to use a red band for this one. And what I'm gonna do is focus on my foot. So it's all about stability in the foot because everything's gonna go up the chain into our hips. So I wanna make sure I can plant my big toe, my pinky toe, and my heel to the ground. From here, I'm gonna think about externally rotating, so pulling my knee out without rolling onto the side of my foot. So I'm screwing my hip to the floor and trying to pull my femur back. Then I'm gonna grab the band with my opposite hand and I'm gonna slowly hinge forward. And then as I stand, row. During this drill, there's a couple things you wanna think about. First, it's gonna test your balance. Second, we have to keep our midline nice and tight. And then third, we wanna make sure our knee is not collapsing. So that's the whole goal of the drill, is to be able to maintain the stability and keep our knee tracking out over the second toe. The other piece is gonna be shoulders and hips should always be staying square to the ground. So if I'm struggling with my balance for the day, or maybe I feel like I'm still not quite warmed up, a lot of times I'll just leave my other foot on the ground like a kickstand. So I'll think about hinging with a nice active midline so I can feel my hamstring kick on, and then I'll stand and row. And I'll start here and then I'll work my way into be able to take my toe off of the ground into the rowing position. So that's also a way you could scale and modify this to focus on the single leg work. I really like the single leg work into the squats to make sure we're gonna be pushing evenly through the ground when we get our hands on our barbell. So once I've gone through all of those drills, now I put my shoes on. I wear a lifter. You don't have to wear a lifter. I just wear it because it does help me get into a little bit of a better position when I'm specifically front or back squatting. I like to do all of those drills without shoes because you want to be able to feel the floor. You want to make sure that our big toes are functioning properly and we can actually grab the floor and we're not hiding any imbalances or compensating by putting our shoes on. When I do squat, I tend to put my lifters on though. So now my shoes are on. The last drill I'm going to finish with is you can use anything. You can use a sandbag, a med ball. But what we want to think about doing is activating our midline, keeping our chest tall, spreading the floor with our feet, and finding our squat stance. When I come down, I'm gonna find the ball and then just focus on driving my knees out harder than I would. However, again, I'm still pressing through the floor with my big toes. This is going to light up your glute med and it should feel really, really, really good. And it's also gonna help us focus on a tight midline and our weight being towards the back of our foot, not in our toes. I'm already shaking. So I'll hold this for about 45 to 60 seconds and then I'll take a break. All right guys, I hope that was super helpful for you. Those are drills you can all do in your own gym. They have been life-changing for me and they've also been really great for me to learn how to use my glutes and stop using my back so much. I'm gonna get into the barbell work now. So once I've done that, I get into my bar. I'm gonna warm everything up, make sure everything feels really good, that I feel ready to go. If I need to, I'll address anything that maybe comes up. If there's any nagging knee stuff, I don't foresee there being any because I feel pretty good today. But if you want to see the full squat session that I'm about to do and the workout, make sure you guys check out tomorrow's video because we'll have that in there for you. It's going to be some awesome dead stop stuff and some back squat to help you get a better clean and a stronger back squat. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.